Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Today, I am so honored to be able to bring to you Joy Vernon. And so many people know Joy because she has been in the biz for like over 30 years. So, this podcast is really about people's beingness because of what they believe in. And I would have to say that Joy Vernon is the epitome of living a spiritual life. I have known Joy for over 10 years. I have had the privilege to sit with her on a panel or two. And I've also had the privilege of taking some of her workshops, which are amazing. She knows her stuff. So, welcome, Joy. Say hi to the listeners.
Hello, everybody.
I'm so excited. One of the aspects about you is that you did the Denver Tarot Meetup group, the Tarot Geeks, now the Greater Seattle Meetup group, and the beauty around your authenticity is that you actually do your homework rigorously researching etc before you open your mouth, and I have to give you props for that. I also just want to say specifically what Joy brings her specialty is that she teaches like esoteric tarot, where she layers in astrological and Kabbalah symbolism in order to bring that traditional images. So, and like I said, over 30 years. So, Joy, tell us, what does that mean to the average tarot, the average astrology dabbler? What does that look like?
Well, I think it looks I don't think anybody would necessarily even recognize what I was doing in a reading. Um, and so, people that come to me, n- they'll say things like, "I've never had a reading like that before," or "You were so accurate. Your cards are so accurate." I hear that all the time. And like, yes, I do have really good cards. I know how to pick a deck. But yeah, I think it's because I am bringing such a depth of um e- experience and such a depth of symbolic vocabulary to my readings. And it doesn't come out, I mean, just like in an astrology reading, if you focus on all of the astrology, you know, um, uh, formal language, it's not understandable to somebody. So you've got to, and same with tarot, I'm not going to be using vocabulary that is Kabbalistic or astrological, or even a lot of the um just more esoteric aspects of any kind of hermetic practice. I'm going to use everyday words. So I think it's just a combination of kind of having that huge vocabulary, but being able to keep it light and keep it relevant.
That was awesome because it really speaks to the way that you will actually teach in some of your classes is you're like teaching these big concepts, but you're putting practical words around it. You're helping, like as a student, I took one of your classes, or probably two or three of your classes over the years, and you give us hands-on, fundamental practical things. And it really speaks to applying that esoteric wisdom of ancients and actually going, and this is how you can apply it to your relationships, to your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you pointed out something else that I think is super, super important to the way that I um view the world, what I believe, and how how it's important to put it into practice is that, for me, it's not about, even though I know all this stuff and studied all this stuff, it's not about knowledge. It's very much about how I engage the energies. And that's why I try to teach. And that's why people are always confused. Not always. If a brand new person will sometimes be confused when they come to a class of mine because they'll think, I thought you were just going to lecture the heck out of us, and tell
Right.
us everything you know. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you anything because nothing, like the things that are the most important to me are the things I discovered on my own. And so I want to try to create that experience for you. And so, of course, it makes it a lot harder for them. But for the people that are willing to play, they really get those insights and they learn to work with the energies. And the idea of, for instance, working with the four elements, to me, it's not it's not about learning and memorizing what the four elements are. It's about, how does this feel to me when I'm in an earthy experience, when I'm feeling watery, or when air is, and I move a lot. I'll talk about, and this comes up in, this applies to everything. And so when I'm doing astrology, if somebody's got a Neptune transit or a Pisces transit, I just start like floating. I'm like, this is what it feels like, to be in this. And then, they've got a Taurus thing and it's just like, boom. Okay, now we're in Taurus and that feels really different, and Capricorn is building, and things like that. And when you can experience it, and I have like a million ways to get that stuff into your body, but when you can experience it, then you can understand it in a totally different way that is that affects you on more levels.
It's like you are telling people, let's embody spirituality. So that's how we can work with it in our practicality. And I love that because fire to me might feel different than fire to the next person. But I love that because I often say this, what good is spirituality if you cannot embody it and use it in your practical world? And you do that. I mean, like I've said, I've known her for a while, and in speaking with her, helps, she blends two worlds of this very, very, let's look at the symbology within these pictures. Let's feel this energy. Let's look at, what does this mean to you, as well as, if she actually decided to lecture us. I mean, she has what, over 300 publications, and so, yeah, we'd be like, what the heck? So I love that you bring that knowledge and you ground it into, okay, this is the symbol. This is what it looks like pictorially, and this is what it feels like. Um, okay, so most of us know, okay, yes, tarot. We can think of, oh yeah, I had that reading, I have a deck of cards, things like that. And most of us are like, oh, I know my sun sign, things like that. So those are kind of familiar topics. Talk a little bit about this Kabbalah tree of life symbology. Like, what does that mean?
Well, that's such a big question. And you do a very short podcast.
Right?
The tree of life is a ladder, a connection, a bridge between the world that we live in and the divine. And so it presumes that we are directly connected to the divine. It's work to climb that and to complete the connection or realize the connection, but there are also stages along the way. So it's not like an all or nothing thing. Um, there's a variety of methods of working with the tree of life, and a lot of them, I don't I'm trying to decide which ones are going to be important to talk about right now. I think a really nice example that I can give though is something that we're doing with the meetup group right now, which is a monthly meeting on the first Saturday. And this is through the Greater Seattle Tarot Meetup. It's also through the Denver Tarot Geek, so you can register either way, and it's free. But we're working with the magical images of the 10 Sephirot, and we're working with visualizing them, imagining them, um, creating stories around them. And each of those 10 images that match the 10 Sephirot, they are visual entryways
Okay.
into the tree and into the states of consciousness onto the tree, into the eventual path working that can be done on the tree. And they match up, of course, with the tarot cards because the numbered tarot cards match with the 10 Sephirot. So we've been through Malkut number 10 and Yesod number 9. We're moving up this coming on April 6th, actually, to Hod and the Tarot Eights. And so there's this a lot of meditations that we do. It's the whole 2-hour meeting is different forms of meditation interspersed with discussion. And so, but one of the main things we do is build up the image of the magical image for that Sephira. We open that up so that we can connect with it, talk with it, look around the environment, connect in whatever way is relevant, and then bring the tarot cards, which would in this case would be the 4 8s, eight of pentacles, 8 of swords, 8 of cups, 8 of wands, and bring those in and see how they enhance the environment, how they teach us about the magical image, how the magical image teaches us about the tarot cards. So that's just one of many, many, many ways that we can work with these energies and try to climb the tree.
I love that. I love that you also said try to climb the tree because it can actually be a lifelong journey. And another aspect is that between these different worlds that you're talking about, there are, if correct me if I'm wrong, there are 22 pathways and there are 22 of the major arcana. So there's all of these levels that we're just scratching the surface.
I like how scratching the surface is a cat trying to get in at a closed door.
Absolutely. That's what my cat does. They're trying to get into the worldview of Melkut, and
Yeah.
trying to climb up the
It's
tree.
like
I love it.
sometimes that's how you get in.
That's how you get in. If you just want to take a Saturday with a cup of tea and start reading the blogs, I think that you would find a lot of information. And I was just flipping through them and I'm just like, I wanna read that one. I wanna read this one. So
You're featured on probably more than one, but I know it was putting
yes.
the genie back in the box.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to check that out. I might put a link down so that you guys can find that one too. And then Joy does offer one-on-one reads. So if you want to experience to her
You
style, maybe she takes a different approach, right? And so you're gonna grow wherever you're at. She does have some upcoming classes that you can register for on our website. The Kabbalah, it's coming up here,
Yeah.
starting at the end of April. What can people expect out of that class?
Well, what I'm doing this year with the classes is I'm doing 4 session classes They're not weekly, they're the first and third Sundays of the month. And so a 4 session class typically is about 2 months worth, or might even span across three, because a lot of them start towards the end of the month. And so I'm really keeping it, because I used to do much longer classes. So I'm really trying to keep it simple. I'm trying to just introduce the basics and introduce them in that playful way. Trying to keep it about connecting with the energies, connecting with the into your intuition, connecting with the material. But at the same time, um it's still, I don't know, it's easy and it's playful, and at the same time, I'm not gonna let you just say anything you want. You have to, there's still a lot of structure to all of the traditions that I work in. There's a lot of underlying structure. So I try to show you how to build that structure yourself. And that's a lot of what the Kabbalah class is going to be like. It's what uh there's an astrology one that actually is a little bit different, but the tarot ones are a lot about here's how to build your practice. I mean, I think of all of these things as practices, and a lot of people are like, but I'm trying to learn something. It's like, nope, just let go of that. We're practicing, and this is what
Yes.
you'll do for the rest of your life. So, trying to build practices and build the fundamentals, the structure behind any of these modalities.
I love that because once again, that shows that you're not just like, oh, I have this degree, I know this, so now I'm just gonna go out there and do whatever. It's actually a practice that just like eating 3 meals a day or taking a walk or sleeping, it's that fundamental. The art of astrology coming up in the end of June. Art of astrology?
That's
What
one
is
of my
this?
favorite ones, because I actually am going to pull very little from any of my actual astrology classes, and instead I'm going to teach you all of the crazy things that I do that I invented myself when I didn't know any better. And so there is dawn flies before the sun, which is the first time I ever did a chart delineation for someone, and I did not know anything about how to do it. I made it up as I went along. And when the person wrote back to me, they're like, I've never seen a chart read like that before. And the truth is, and I between that and some other things, I was like, okay, maybe I should go and learn something. But the more I learn, the more I'm like, you know what? This thing that I did in the beginning was actually based on something. I wasn't totally making it up from scratch. I was basing it on my tarot knowledge, and my work with the four elements, and my knowledge of symbolism and how symbols interact with each other. So it actually is pretty cool. And that's probably the thing that most people want to learn from me, is like, how can I like take all of this abundant knowledge all the other teachers are giving me, and how can I actually turn it into something that that enlightens my life, and enlightens my readings of for other people and things like that.
That. I love that. Just yeah, I love that. And that's what is why you are so knowledgeable is because you take these spiritual concepts and you talk about them as energies, which is a whole nother podcast. And then you allow people to look at pictures and symbols and meditate on them and come up with something. And you're like, see, now you're embodying it. Now you're embodying it. And that's what, I can tell you that Joy Vernon is one of the most dedicated people to the path. And, it's kind of interesting because I like to say this, you know, when you first start on a spiritual path, everything takes care of you. And oh my goodness, synchronicity and miracles. And then spirit starts saying, okay, now it's your turn. You tie your own shoes.
Yeah,
What do you think
absolutely.
about that? And that's when people
Absolutely.
fall off.
100%. Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly well, and I mean, an analogous experience that I work so much with students is students' intuition opens up. One of the first thing that happens when their intuition opens up is a lot of people start seeing things.
Yeah.
Particularly Reiki students start seeing colors. And it is so astonishing to someone that's never seen anything than what our normal regular vision sees to suddenly see colors. It is so astonishing that they think that they have arrived. And they're like, I'm psychic now. I'm all of this. And it's like, okay, that's awesome. First of all, it's really cool. And so I love the fact that that opened up for them. But then I'm like, okay, you've gone from Malkut to Yesod. You've gone one step up the tree, and there is so much more to get to after that.
Yes.
And creativity, taking something from nothing and getting to a finished thing, which so many of us have so much difficulty doing. That is the basic premise of the four worlds of Kabbalah, and that's something that I teach. And it also applies to almost to the four elements. It applies to tarot. It applies to just about everything. And so that to me, creativity and creating is very much an embodiment process that I think probably more people can relate to than just the abstract word embodiment.
Is there any final last thing that you want to say to the people or just
Yeah, absolutely. I think the great place to start is checking out the Greater Seattle Tarot Meetup. All At this time, all of our events are currently online. Most of them are free. And it's a really good way to kind of check in and get a taste. Um, a lot, not all, but a lot of those meetups, I record them and then edit them and put them up on YouTube. So you can check out my YouTube channel for past meetups and other videos there. And of course, my website is just joyvernon.com with a fairly extensive blog and information on how to book a reading and all of that kind of stuff.
guys? Well, thank you once again. Thank you for tuning in, watching, and listening to another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Please leave a review, it helps a lot. And go to the YouTube channel, Granddaughter Crow on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and share if you think somebody would be interested. Thank you so much, Joy. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fun.